Hey guys, Marco the dog trainer here. Today we're going to be doing a super quick video on my favorite e-collars for training Labrador retrievers. Now, in my career, I have trained a lot of labs, and I've almost always used either the Dogtra Arc or the 1900S. Now, a lot of times people underestimate what level of stimulation a lab is going to need. Because labs are kind of like good dogs and they're friendly and everything like that, people think that needing a stronger collar relates to a dog being bad. But in this particular case, it's not that labs are bad. It's just that they tend to be less sensitive to stimulation. So I would say the majority of the time, I'm probably going to be recommending the 1900S, and maybe that's why there's a chocolate lab on the box. But there are a lot of situations that the Dogtra Arc will work as well. So let's take a look at both of them so we can kind of figure out which one's going to work better for your situation. All right, guys, we've got the Dogtra Arc on the left and the 1900S on the right. Now, we're not going to go over every single similarity and difference just because I've got other videos that do that, but we are going to talk through the features on both of these models that make them so ideal for working with Labrador retrievers. We're going to talk through some kind of key differences that may push you towards one or the other. Okay, so first and foremost, okay, the ARC and the 1900S are going to connect up to 3/4 of a mile. So a lot of my lab, clients with labs, they like their dogs running around all over the place off leash. So that can be really nice to have that kind of long distance range when you're working with a dog that's going to be off leash a whole bunch. Now, the second thing that I like is that they're both entirely waterproof, or at least as waterproof as this stuff can get, because a lot of labs love water. Now, labs, a lot of times their fur isn't super, super thick, but there have been times that I've had to adjust the contact points for slightly longer ones. For the example, I have these 1-inch ones, but a lot of times these would probably be too big for a lab. I'd probably end up using 1/2 inch or something more like that. But, and then the last thing is that they both have the nick, constant, and vibrate stimulation. Okay, so now as far as differences go, the first thing I'm always thinking about is size and shape of the collar. So labs, some of them can be kind of small and some of them can be pretty stocky and big. So the first thing is, okay, the ARC is going to be a little bit smaller and a little bit weaker. And the 1900S is going to be a little bit bigger and heavier and a little bit stronger. Okay. Now, so that's always the first thing is, how do I think these are going to fit on my dog? So if I'm working with a really small full-grown lab, I may be thinking more about the ARC. But now the second consideration is always going to be the level of stimulation, where labs tend to be very, very excitable dogs. And again, a lot of people don't recognize that they're a working breed dog. So a lot of times working dogs, they just require a stronger level of stimulation. So that doesn't necessarily mean that labs are bad dogs by any means. It just means that they are not as sensitive to stimulation as some other breeds may be. So a lot of the labs that I work with, I end up using the 1900S because, like I've said in a lot of these other videos, is I would rather have the stronger collar and not need it than the other way around. So even if I'm just keeping this at lower numbers, it's nice to know that it can go up if I need it. Where if I got a collar that was a little too weak for my dog and I'm really at the high end of that collar all the time, that's not going to give me a lot of wiggle room if I needed to go stronger. So now again, it is always this balance between the size and shape of the collar and is it going to be strong enough? Because I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Even if I'm working with a smaller lab, if they really require a stronger type of stimulation, I'm going to be using the 1900S in that case. So that's the balance that I would recommend you consider when you're kind of picking between the Dogtra Arc and the 1900S. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.